Good morning, grade 9 students. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the cardiac activity, the activity of the heart. So, whenever you hear the word cardio or cardiac, we are talking about the heart. In this presentation, we are going to determine the different parts of the heart and some of the cardiac activity. So, cardiac activity, heart, chapter 3, activity 1. What is the function of the heart? And also, what is the heart? The heart is known to be as a pump that pushes blood into all the organs in our body. This pump, it doesn't stop. It continues in pumping and propelling and pushing all the blood to the different organs in a continuous manner. So the heart is classified as a muscular pump. It pumps blood to all different organs in a continuous manner. You have to know that the heart is divided into two parts. One of this is called the left part. These notes, by the way, you have to study them because next time we're going to have an extra note. So pay attention to study these notes and write them down on your copybook later on. Heart is divided to the left and the heart, the right part of the heart and the left part of the heart. Let's start with the left part. Left part of the heart, it's oxygenated blood. The blood is oxygenated. What the meaning of oxygenated? It's rich in O2. It contains high amount of O2. That's why it's called oxygenated blood. And this blood has a bright red color. So whenever we talk about the left part of the heart, the left part of the heart, the blood is oxygenated, it's rich in O2, it has bright red color. Whereas the right part of the heart is deoxygenated. What the meaning of deoxygenated? It's poor in O2. It contains low amount of O2. This blood has dark red color. It has a dark red color. So you have as a conclusion, you have to know that the left part of the heart, the blood is oxygenated, it's rich in O2 and has bright red color, whereas in the right part, the blood is deoxygenated, it's poor in O2 and has dark red color. Let's start with the different parts of the heart. Myocardium wall of the heart. What is the myocardium wall? Myocardium wall, it helps the heart to contract. Whenever we talk about the myo, we are going to talk about the muscle. So the myocardium wall, what is the function of the myocardium wall? Myocardium wall, it helps the heart to contract. So this is the myocardium wall, it helps the heart to contract. Second, we have what's known by the septum. Septum, it's like a wall of separation. It separates the left part of the heart from the right part of the heart. The right part, it's oxygenated or deoxygenated, and the left part, it's oxygenated or deoxygenated. Let's start first with the septum. What is the function of the septum? Septum, it's like a wall, separates the left part and the right part. It's like in the middle. So it separates oxygenated blood where in the left side from the deoxygenated in the right side and prevent the mixing of these two sides, two blood, oxygenated and deoxygenated, they do not mix. So the blood, right and left, they do not mix their blood. This is the septum. The septum is found here. This is the septum. It's the wall that separates the oxygenated blood from the deoxygenated. It separates the left part from the right part. This is called the septum. So the septum has an important role. This is the septum. It has an important role. It separates the right side and the left side. Chambers or the cavities of the heart. We have four chambers. We have right atrium, or it's called right auricle, and right ventricle on the right side. On the left side, we have the left atrium, also it's called left auricle, and the left ventricle. These are the four chambers of the heart. They have an important function. We're going to discover them step by step. But first, what I want from you to know that what is the myocardium? It supports or it helps the heart to contract. This is the first one. Number two, we have the septum. The septum, it separates the right and the left sides. It separates the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood. We have four chambers, four cavities of the heart. We have the right auricle, right ventricle. We have the left auricle and the left ventricle. And what do they do? We are going to discuss it together. Let's move now to the different parts. We finished about the septum. We said that it's the wall that separates oxygenated and the left side from the deoxygenated from the right side and prevent the mixing. We said that we have cavities, four cavities. We have right auricle, right ventricle, left auricle, and left ventricle. Okay, this is auricle is like the same as the atrium. Bicuspid and tricuspid valves. What do they do? Bicuspid and tricuspid valves. They allow what's known by directional flow of the blood from the auricles down to the ventricles and prevent the backflow from the ventricles back to the auricles. So bicuspid and tricuspid valves, what do they do? This is the tricuspid and the bicuspid valves. They allow the directional flow. For example, the blood moves from the right auricle to the right ventricle. And they close. Whenever they close here, they prevent the backflow. So whenever they close here, they prevent the backflow. So for example, the blood moves from the right auricle to the right ventricle here, and it closes here to prevent the backflow. So the backflow is not accepted. There is no backflow of the blood. This is the role of the bicuspid and the tricuspid valves. It allows the unidirectional. What the meaning of unidirectional is the movement in one direction of blood from the auricles down to the ventricles and prevent the backflow, prevent the going of the blood from the ventricles toward the auricles. This is the role of the bicuspid and the tricuspid valves. These are very important. You have to study these notes. Moving to superior and the inferior vena cava. These two, superior and the inferior vena cava, they are found here. This is the superior vena cava and this is the inferior vena cava. What do they do? Superior and inferior vena cava, they collect deoxygenated blood from where? Right or left? Or from the right, since the left is oxygenated. So they collect deoxygenated blood from organs to right auricle. So they collect deoxygenated blood from the organs to the right auricle. Okay, repeat it. Superior and inferior vena cava, they collect deoxygenated blood, the blood that is poor in oxygen, from the organs toward the right auricle. So this is the function of the superior and the inferior vena cava. Superior and the inferior, they collect deoxygenated blood from the organs and they bring them to the right auricle. Moving for the pulmonary veins. Pulmonary veins, what do? They collect oxygenated blood from where? From the lungs, since they're rich in oxygen, and to send them to the left auricle, since the left part is the oxygenated. So pulmonary vein collect oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left auricle. This is the function of the pulmonary vein. So these, we have to study them. Bicuspid and tricuspid valve, what is the function? Superior and inferior vena cava, and the four pulmonary veins. Aorta. What is the role of the aorta? Aorta has an important role. It carries oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to all the body organs. So it's a very important part. of the heart is called the aorta. Aorta carries oxygenated blood from where? From the left ventricle to all the body organs. This is the aorta. It carries, this is the aorta found here, it carries oxygenated blood from the left ventricle toward the different body organs. So it distributes the blood that's rich in oxygen to the different body organs. Pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery has a role in carrying deoxygenated blood from where? From the right ventricles toward the lungs. So this is the function of the pulmonary artery. This is the pulmonary artery. It carries deoxygenated blood from the right ventricles and send it to the lungs. Okay, so I will repeat. Aorta, it carries oxygenated blood from where? From the left ventricle to all the body organs. So the aorta here carries oxygenated blood from the left ventricle, since the left side is enriched in oxygen. It carries them from the left ventricle to all the body organs. We have also pulmonary artery. It carries what? Pulmonary artery, it carries the deoxygenated. Why? It's from the right side, from the right ventricles toward the lungs. Last one, we have something called sigmoid valve. What is the role of the sigmoid valve? Sigmoid valve, it allows also unidirectional valve, unidirectional flow of the blood from the left ventricle to the aorta and from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery and prevent the backflow from the arteries into the ventricles of the blood. I will repeat, sigmoid valve allow unidirectional flow of the blood from the left ventricle to the aorta and from the right to the pulmonary artery. So sigmoid valves, they allow unidirectional flow of the blood from the left ventricle to the aorta and from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery and prevent the backflow. So whenever the blood moves from the left ventricle to the aorta, it can't go back. And whenever it moves from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery, it can't go back. This is the function of the sigmoid valve. Okay? Moving now to the pathway. Talking about the figure of the heart, we're going to have in the second session next week, we have a figure talking about the heart, a brief one and a detailed one also. Tracing the pathway of the blood, starting from the pulmonary vein. This pathway, you have to study them in order, starting from the pulmonary vein or starting from other part. Let's start here with the pulmonary vein. Starting from the pulmonary vein, we move to the left auricle, left ventricle, then it moves to the aorta, to the body organs, then it moves to the vena cava, right auricle, right ventricle, pulmonary artery, lungs, and then to the pulmonary vein. Here, if we started from the pulmonary vein, we have to end with the pulmonary vein. But if they ask you to start from the left auricle, we have to start with the left auricle and we have to go back into the left auricle. So the one I started with, I have to end with. This is the pathway. You have to study it in order. So you have to pay attention. Here I said you have to start from the pulmonary vein. Next time, maybe I'm going to start from the left ventricle. So you have to send left ventricle, aorta, body organ, vena cava, right auricle, right ventricle, pulmonary artery, lungs, pulmonary veins. Then it's go to the left auricle, left ventricle, and you stop in the left ventricle. Since we started with the left ventricle. So always, whenever you have to trace the pathway of the blood, you have to start from the point that we've mentioned, and you have to end with the same point. You have to study them in order. Yes, you have to study them in order. Veins. What is the role of the veins? Veins, they are blood vessels that carry blood to the heart away from the organs. This is the role of the veins. Veins, they carry blood to the heart away from the organs. And to link it together, all the veins, let's annotate this. Veins here, they carry blood to the heart away from the organs. But all veins, they carry deoxygenated blood, except for the pulmonary veins, which carry the oxygenated blood, as we said before. So the veins, they are blood vessels that carry blood to the heart away from the organs. Okay? And all the veins, they carry deoxygenated blood. All of them, they carry blood that is poor in oxygen, except the pulmonary vein, which carries oxygenated blood. Moving now to the arteries. The arteries, they are blood vessels that carry the blood from heart to all the body organs. So the arteries, they carry blood from the heart to the different body organs. All the arteries, they carry oxygenated blood. And here also we have an exception. All other arteries, they carry oxygenated blood except for the pulmonary artery, which carries the oxygenated blood. So here you have to be careful about these notes. I will repeat, all the veins, they are blood vessels that carry blood to the heart away from the organs. All the veins, they carry deoxygenated blood except for the pulmonary vein, which carry oxygenated blood. All the arteries, they carry blood from the heart to the all body organs. All of them, they carry oxygenated blood because they carry them to the organs and they need oxygen. But we have an exception. Pulmonary artery, it carries deoxygenated blood. Okay, so you have to study these notes and you have to pay attention with these notes. So here, these notes, they are important to study them. What is the function of the veins and the arteries, pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. Also, we studied about the function of the pathway of the blood. Here we move to the function or the myocardium wall. The myocardium wall is known to be thicker around the left ventricle than around the right. Why? Because the left ventricle, it has to distribute the blood to all the body organs because the blood is rich in oxygen and needs to be pushed and propelled to all the body parts. This wall should be thick. Why? It needs more contraction in order to survive and to withstand here and to cover all this and to, for example, live under this high pressure and high contraction, the wall should be thick. If it's thin, the wall will be, for example, destroyed or ruptured. So here, the myocardial wall is thicker around the left ventricle than that around the right. Why? Because the blood in the left ventricle is rich in oxygen in the left part, and since it needs to be propelled and pushed to all the different organs of the body, and it needs more force of contraction. So that's why it needs to be more thicker at the left side than on the right side. So these you have to know that, you have to understand these notes very well. You have to study the notes that I covered here because they are very important and studying the function of the different parts of the heart. This session and this lecture is already found and you can go whenever you want to study these notes, and I prefer to copy these notes on your copybook and to be easier for you whenever you have to complete and to study the notes later